it's not the easiest industry, and anything. That's why they call it work and not fun, right? Anything that's work is going to have its challenges, but you got to have a reason to do it. And it sounds like you guys have great ones. So congratulations for that. That's pretty awesome. Pretty
Thanks.
awesome. Hey guys, this is Matt Helton with OneTrust Home Loans, your reverse mortgage experts, and you found the Serving Senior podcast. Now, this is the podcast where we highlight those businesses and those individuals that are helping seniors not just get by, not just survive, but thrive in their retirement. And today we have three awesome people with CarePatrol. Now, CarePatrol is a senior advisory firm, and they advise seniors on housing, helping them make those sometimes challenging, but also come alongside and add that expert advice on those challenging decisions. And we've got Mr. Eric Miller, Sara Hoover, and Sherri Coates sharing their wisdom and knowledge and their heart for serving seniors today. How are you guys doing today?
Good, Matt.
Great.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for. Well, I feel outnumbered here. It's usually just me and one other person, so please don't gang up on me today.
We'll try.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, I know Eric, he's on my side. We got the man thing going on, but I could see you and Sara.
It's equal. Equal.
Okay, got it. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. I've always respected what you guys do and always really enjoyed hearing our conversations and when you guys talk about what you do. So I'm so glad to have you on here and highlight your businesses and how you guys serve seniors.
Thanks for having us today, Matt.
Yep. You're so welcome. So we'll go around the horn and we'll start with Eric. I'd love to hear some background from you. Maybe if you could share your story, because a lot of people know, what the senior industry is, but they don't know why you get into it or, why you continue to do it and why you're passionate about it. So if you could share maybe, Eric, what you did before, where you're from, why you got into this, and then, really what you do to serve seniors would be great.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. So my why is, very close to home. My grandmother was one of the first people in my family that actually went into assisted living and thrived as a result of it.
Okay.
The challenge, of course, over the years that she was in assisted living, we didn't find the right fit right away. And so I didn't have someone like myself to guide and lead my family to the right place at the right time. And then something real close to home happened. My father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and this is in about 2017. And unfortunately, I lost him in 2020 disease about 3 months into COVID. And that was early on in my journey with CarePatrol, which was a huge support system for my family. But I realized more than ever why it's so important to help families that are emotionally drawn because of all the things going on, trying to help a loved one that needs assisted living, independent living, memory care, or even just in-home resources like home health or caregiver support, hospice. There's just so much emotion that goes behind someone that's aging with a disease. It can become polarizing. So I like to think of myself as a beacon. When it's dark, I can come and bring light where it's dark to help support families. And a lot of that I draw from the fact that I've been where these folks have been. I'm just a few years ahead in terms of my experience with my own journey.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. That's some good words of wisdom and, some really good empathy. People like to work with someone that understands where they're coming from. So thanks for sharing. That's great. And then now, Sara and Sherri, I know you guys work together. Maybe give us some background on how y'all got together, what you did before, and then share with your journey with CarePatrol.
Yeah. Sara, do you want me to start? Yeah, I'll start. I did not come into this industry with the background. I was a business consultant for a long time, worked with many different kind of clients in different industries. So I really come at this from a personal standpoint. My mother became ill when I was 17 years old, right before I was graduating high school with heart disease. And we, as a family, my siblings and I, my father, were able, fortunately, to be able to care for her at home. But in the 8 years that she was ill, I experienced hospitals, skilled nursing, rehab, home care, therapists, in and out of the home. So that was a long 8 years, but for us, it was the right thing and it was the right decision for my family. Looking back, though, I'm not sure if we served my mom necessarily the best way, doing that. But at that time, that seemed like the right decision for our family. But like Eric mentioned, there's so many factors going on when your loved one is just in and out of the hospital and, skilled nursing and rehab. So that was that. And then more recently, 2 years ago, my husband's father, we just downsized them from California to Florida to retire. And then he started having the issues and having to go in and out of hospitals and skilled nursing. So same thing, and if it weren't for my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, really having the time to look and find them the right assisted living, we had no idea this type of company that we have now even existed. And that was only 2 years ago. Okay. So it's really been a blessing to now be in it and know it. And then, I'll have Sara explain her experience with it. But yeah, Sara and I have actually been friends for 13 years now. When I moved here from San Diego, and we lived in the same street. So we've been friends a long time. Wow. And come at the business side of things from a friendship standpoint as well. So that's really, a blessing in itself to work with, one of your dearest friends.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, Miss Sara, maybe share, if you could share your background now that everybody hopefully you are open to sharing now that everyone's done it, right? You're the last one. So feeling good about it.
Yeah.
Showing me how to do it. So here we go. I too do not come from the senior industry. I was a tax attorney and I moved to Nashville with Nissan.
Okay.
And I also have a personal bent to this. When I was a small child, my mom had to put my grandfather into what they called a convalescent hospital at the time. And it wasn't a pretty experience. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say every single day for the last 40 years, Mother has said, don't put me in a home. And there's just like no conversations where that doesn't come up. And my dad died about 14 years ago. And after that, I sort of watched my mom and her friend group, how they navigate what senior living looks like. Some did join assisted living. She still lives on her own. There's everything in between. People in nursing homes. And I was just always kind of wondered, it didn't seem as awful, some of the choices that people made as she made it sound. And when this option came up, we learned about this industry sort of by a fluke or a friend of Sherri's. And to realize that there were different options, that there were different levels, you could figure it out and people could have really important, thriving lives that meant something without having to be in a so-called home. And I really felt like something that I wanted to be a part of. And fortunately, I had a good partner ready to do it too.
Yeah, that's great. That is awesome. Now, and what was your previous job right before this?
I worked for Nissan. I was a tax attorney. I managed the federal tax planning function.
Gotcha.
Really important job.
That sounds like it. Yeah, to keep the feds off of Nissan, that's probably important. So
they're super smart.
That's so awesome. Good for you.
Thank goodness for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, maybe could you guys? I'd love to hear you shared a little bit about how you two met, and then how do you guys divide the roles? How do you work together? Do you each divide and conquer? Or do you have separate roles that you take on?
Well, Sara kind of put it lightly that her brother helped me with the chair, but I was an interior designer, still am, I guess, in a past life. But I was bringing in a very large settee into my house, new house that I was moving into on Sara's street. And I was insistent that I could do it. And her brother was passing by and walking and asked me if he needed help. And I was like, no, I've got it. It's fine. But of course, he didn't let me do that by myself. So he was very helpful, came in, gave me a Post-it with Sara's number and said, you girls are both from California. You need to meet and you guys are going to be friends. I'm
That's
like,
great.
okay. So a few months later, I found the Post-it called Sara, and we've been friends since.
Wow, that's awesome. And you guys came before it was cool to move to Tennessee, right? You beat
Yes.
the rush.
Yes. Well, Sara was even cooler and, smarter, moving here even sooner than that. So I probably caught the tail end of it. But yeah, we were in one of the best streets in a 12 South, and it's our home base. It's still the office. So I still use Sarah's address.
Wow, that's so awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. And I can definitely tell that you guys are in the right industry and in it for the right reasons. So that's so good. You guys have a connection, because it's not the easiest industry, and anything. That's why they call it work and not fun, right? Anything that's work is going to have its challenges, but you got to have a reason to do it. And it sounds like you guys have great ones. So congratulations for that. That's pretty awesome. Pretty
Thanks.
awesome. Well, Eric, I'll go back to you. I guess maybe if you could share, I'd love to hear from your perspective, maybe some I like to call them superpowers. Maybe some of the qualities that you have that allow you to serve the seniors at such a high level.
Gosh, I wish I had superpowers. That would be great. Can I rub a genie bottle and maybe wish for some superpowers?
That's right.
Well, I know that there are definitely some qualities and characteristics that help. In prior life, prior role, I worked in behavioral health, and I think that much like working in the senior space, when families are in transition, there's usually a crisis that occurs, and somebody needs to remain calm so that decisions can be made without a lot of emotion. Good decisions are made when you can put emotion to the side. And so I feel like I have that just about me in terms of type of person I am. It's just in my DNA. It takes a lot to rattle my cage. So when there may be some chaos or a crisis that occurs for families, I feel like I have that calming voice, that grounded sense to tell people, look, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. And probably another thing, I guess maybe this would be my superpower, is that like in a game of chess, you always have to be thinking about what's the move, not next, but like 2 or 3 ahead. I'm always trying to think like as if I have a crystal ball, what's going to happen next? And so I feel like I give families really good advice or consult them well to plan for the future and avoid some of the pitfalls. And a lot of that just comes from personal experience.
Wow. Very, very well said, and very, very important. You said about staying calm. When I first started to connect with the senior industry, I quickly realized it was very stressful. And the reason why I realized that, without being in stressful situations, is it seems like about 8 nights a week you could actually drink on someone else's dime. Everybody's throwing a happy hour, right? And it's like, well, it's 4 o'clock and everyone has to drink because it's stressful. But that's a light way of saying that there is a lot of stress in this, but they do like to have fun as well. You got to burn some of that steam off as well. But Eric, I've connected with you for over probably a year and a half now, and you've always been someone that people spoke so highly of. And it's funny you said that. It's always about how calm you are and how you can stay cool in difficult situations. You just told us before we got on here how you were something you thought was going to work wasn't working, and you already had a backup plan. And I didn't see any sweat on your brow. You were calm, cool, and collected. So I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, you don't see the fan off to this side. It's about 64 degrees here right now in my office, and no, just kidding.
Well, I can
actually use an interior decorator. You can see in my office. So Sherri, if you ever want to give some advice, I've got some
color in there.
That's a man. That is a true man cave there, right there, right?
Seriously, I'm a simple person.
And he's even matching his office right now.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, Eric, thank you for sharing it. I think you must run your business like a duck. Something tells me your feet are moving 100 miles an hour underneath that camera, but you look calm right here in the picture. So that's awesome.
Thank you. Either that or I've just got a really good poker face,
Either one. That's so cool. Well, and then Sherri and Sara, since you guys work together, I'd love for you to share Sherri, you share Sara, and Sara, you share Sherri's superpowers and why you guys are good teammates and work so well together. It would be great.
Sure. You want to start, Sara, or you want me to?
I think one of Sherri's biggest superpowers is how empathetic she is, and people feel it right away. And they want to talk to her, they want to tell her the whole story, and she's able to take that in and distill what that means, but while being still empathetic and connected to the client at the same time, and then come up with a organized, appropriate plan for what to look at, which things to look at next that aren't going to overwhelm them and that will meet the needs that she sensed.
Wow. That's
Thank you,
great.
Sara. That's so kind. It's hard though. This is a stressful business, like you said, Matt, and it's hard sometimes when you're empathetic to also let it go, because we with a lot of families in a lot of situations, really difficult ones, and I have a hard time sometimes just sort of compartmentalizing it and letting it go. It's been sort of a stressor for me personally, because it's hard to let go when you want to help them, and sometimes we can't.
Yeah.
We simply can't. And what I appreciate about Sara is that when I tend to not stay calm because I'm feeling that way, I'm feeling like the angst of not being able to help some of our families, Sara can stay very calm, like Eric. She can take a lot of information and same thing, really look at the bigger picture and try to figure out even some families where we have financial situations, which is a lot of times. I know I can rely on Sara to look at it, and she'll do her Excel sheets, which are beautiful. And, we can talk through a lot of things, and just because of our life skills too.
Yeah.
I feel like Sara and I are really comfortable negotiating for our families, whether it's more time they need or, community fees or incentives. I feel like we're really comfortable with that, because we've dealt with it in our, past work lives. So I think hopefully it benefits our families. We're able to do that. But Sara stays very calm, collected, and can look through a lot of information. And, she's the calm in my storm where she'll say, let's think about that. Can we talk about that tomorrow? Where I sort of more like, can we do it right now?
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that.
That's great. That's great. You guys make a good team. I'm sure you Sherri, I could see you calling Sara we got a difficult situation, and she goes, let me tell you about the time there was IRS was on hold and they were calling about $1.5 billion, right?
Yes.
She's like, this is chump change compared to that. So I'm sure she's seen lots of interesting scenarios.
Exactly. But for our families, it's super important, and being in finance, it's like it's make or break, their ability to be able to go into one of our communities or not. So we really do have to do what we can. And that's where we work so well with Eric too. If there's, something in his territory instead or ours that make more sense for the family, especially on the financial side of things, we do it. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter who's touring them. It doesn't matter who's talking to them. They get 3 for 1.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Well, Sherri, since I met you, I could see a family being able to really share their story with you and share their heart with you, because if they leave out a few small facts, right, you may not help them find the right facility, but you have a very warming and open personality that I could really see that helping clients make good decisions. I can see you do. And then because of that, I could see you kind of having that, hey, take it all in. And then I can see Sara being so calm and keeping everybody calm behind the scenes. So I'm sure you guys make great partners. That's pretty awesome. All because of your brother. That's pretty awesome. Well, maybe could you guys share? I know you guys are on the quote unquote same team, but you share little different parts of town, like we talked about earlier. Maybe could you guys share some examples or geographically how you guys work together and how that all works together, even though that you guys don't 100% work together, but you're on the same team. If you could share that, that would be great.
Yeah.
I'll kick it off. How's that? And then why don't you ladies jump in and sort of fill in the gaps? Just to let your listeners know, Matt, CarePatrol is a franchise system. We're the oldest placement agency company. We've been around since 1992. We have approximately 220 offices to date in 44 states. And so we cover a broad part of the country. And the benefit we have is that sometimes families are moving to being closer to their relatives out of state. And so we can have grandma or grandpa that lives here who might be relocating to, say, somewhere in Southern California or Washington State. And we have colleagues that we can call on and share information to do sort of a soft underhand referral to them and help somebody in that kind of a transition. Just the same here in Tennessee, if you get down to where we cover, we have 5 offices in the state of Tennessee alone. And my office supports some specific communities in Rutherford County, Northeast Davidson County, Wilson County, Sumner County, and Robertson County. I will go down into like Manchester and McMinnville as well. And then Sara and Sherri, they cover, so we call that sort of Nashville East. Mm-hmm. And Nashville West, if you will, is the area that their office directly covers. And the benefit is that we are experts of the communities that are in our area. And that's what people are looking for, is expertise. Because we are living in an age where you can get everything on the internet, but there's no connection to the information necessarily. And so we like to think of ourselves as the expert connection for families looking for those communities. And Sara and Sherri and I, the 3 of us, are in communities all day, every single day. So we know the people that are there. We know the staff that are there. We know if there's care and violation history in communities to guide people based on safety. But the area that I cover, I know those communities well, and they cover towards the west, and they are experts in those communities.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. Well said. Yeah. So you're like living, breathing, walking, talking Yelps. You know all the reviews, the how many stars, if it's a real review or not, or what the real stories are behind the scenes. Yeah. So.
And that is what we want people to know. Obviously everyone Googles, a lot of adult children and family members and friends of seniors Google. The problem is, there's not an actual person in a lot of that. So what we do is really handhold our families. And I mean, we're doing care discoveries with them. We're meeting them for coffee. We know all the Starbucks and Paneras all over the state too. And, we'll meet families, but we'll also meet families in their home, especially when, their loved one's still at home and can participate. We're willing to do that, of course. But yeah, really just doing the care discovery to taking them to the actual communities and touring them ourselves to, placing them. And after they've moved in, we go visit them. So we are in and out of our communities, as we like to call them, independent assisted living and memory care. And it's really nice actually for us to walk into many where our seller has placed a lot of people. And now Sara and I have clients there. So when we're touring new families, we start seeing our clients there. I mean, it makes a world of difference, especially like on a big, full day, stressful day, you see someone that is in a better place and it's being cared for and safe, then why you're doing this work. Wow. So it's really pretty satisfying that we get to cover this wide of an area because there's so much growth here, as you all know. Mm-hmm. And yeah, to Eric's point, we can work with anyone, anywhere. I just shared of one of my good friend's mom who lives in Texas with our owner in Texas, and we're able to place her from her hospital stay to an assisted living. And I'm so proud of that, because I can just call my counterpart in Texas and the family had the same experience. So that's pretty incredible.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome. There's definitely power in being part of something bigger, have really good reach. That's great. Well, if you guys could maybe, before we run, if you guys could, each group or all 3 of you share maybe an experience where you met a client, you worked with them, maybe they weren't in the best situation, but you improved their situation, and maybe this scenario would really show how you guys work with clients and what you do. So who's got one on the tip of their tongue? Who gets to go first and who gets to wait and think of one?
I do have one. Probably I'm beating Sherri out, but it was probably our second client, and it was a woman who lived in a rural part of our area, and her daughter lived pretty close by, but she had a family and a job, and she could only go over so many times. And this woman was, living alone, but she's a super social person. She had some nothing that required skilled nursing, but she had some pretty significant health issues that were hard for her to manage on her own. And Sherri found 2 places for her to visit, and we toured her at those 2 places. And she just fell in love with the second place. And when you go and visit her, she doesn't sleep in a bed. She sleeps in a recliner. And she's in her recliner. She just has this huge grin on her face. She's super sassy and teases Sherri like crazy. And it's just super it's very satisfying, that place, than when we first started, when we met.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Good. That's what it's all about, right?
To see the change in a client is pretty incredible. Knowing that even if the family is wonderful and trying to care for them at home. We had a situation where it was a dementia client, and the son and her daughter were, the most loving people. But once we're able to put her in one of our memory care communities, when Sara and I first started visiting her, she would just get so emotional and cry, and obviously had no idea who we are, because many times we don't meet our dementia patients. Okay. We're meeting with the adult children. Right. And then so we're meeting them because we're visiting them, want to make sure, we go right when they move in and many weeks after. And the change now, when I go back to that community and see her every time I'm touring another family, one, there's some recognition, definitely, because she's not only waving to us. The last time I was there, she came up to us. She's arranging a lot of pillows and she hugs me, and it's a different emotion now. I see her out in the community. I see her dining with others. I see her watching TV. I see her outside in the garden. That is like a 360 from when we saw her first moved in. And that is such a blessing to me, knowing that she has improved that much just by having the social and mental stimulation where she is, versus being lovingly cared for at home, but she didn't have that socialization necessarily. So, we learn something every day through our clients. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's a great example. Great example. Eric, how about you?
Oh gosh, I'm sitting here. The longer I was waiting to talk, I was like, oh, which story do I want to share? I've got so many there's so many great families I've had the opportunity to work with. I'm truly blessed in that regard. But one really stands out that I'll share, that just kind of gives a little bit of the intricacies that sometimes occurs when you meet somebody. I was introduced by a home health professional who referred me to a gentleman. This is probably about 4.5 years ago. And he was not thriving very well in a independent living, subsidized community for independent living in Nashville. And he had been given an ultimatum that if he did not do some things to take better care of himself in his apartment, he was going to be evicted. And so I was asked to step in and maybe make a recommendation or a referral for an in-home non-medical provider. I did that, and this man actually suffered from dementia, and he was not able to make really good judgment decisions. And an example of that is he hired a non-medical caregiver to help him. And then he went on to say, no, I don't need you anymore. I'm doing fine. Fast forward, he had a health event where he fell and landed in the hospital. And then after that, he went into a nursing home for rehab. And the question was, did he need to stay in long-term skilled or go back to independent living? Well, independent living would not allow him back. They said, you can't take care of yourself or your apartment. You're not welcome back here. So now this man was homeless. To add to that, his only child, his son, had passed away 15 years ago. So his next of kin, there wasn't any. He had one nephew, who he had been estranged from for a while, his sister's oldest son. I helped him reconnect with that man. I learned that this man had a rich history as a service member in the Navy. He served in Korea. I went to the VSO in Nashville. I helped him put in an application to get approved for aid in attendance, which helps with financing, much like what we were talking about previously. So I got to be like Santa Claus, even though it wasn't, I didn't bring the money. I helped him connect the money that he deserved as a war veteran. And with that money, going from a subsidized housing unit that he had been in for 20 years, the man is 91 today. He is now in an assisted living with enough money to private pay, and now has a relationship with his nephew. And his nephew has assured him, Eric has made sure you will have enough money to last till 126. So, I'm very proud to serve seniors that are in distress, because again, those things don't really rattle my cage. I look at it as an opportunity to jump in, roll up my sleeves, and get to work. And that's just one example where today this man is still alive, and I feel like I may have had at least a little something to do with his thriving today like he wasn't before.
Wow. Great example. Yep. Great example. Well, I, really respect wholeheartely what all three of you guys do, because we know how important your living arrangement is to your overall health, right? You get, what are the things everyone needs? We got the food, the water, and the shelter. Well, it's really hard to find the food and the water if you don't have shelter or not the right shelter. So you guys, meet people where they are and satisfy one of the most important basic needs they have out there. So really, really appreciate you guys being on here and taking such good care of these seniors.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, you are so very welcome. So very welcome. Maybe could you guys, before we run, share how people would get in touch with you? And then also too, if someone's watching this, who would be the right person for them to send this to and share this video with? Go ahead, Eric. We'll start with you.
Certainly, anybody can get a hold of me by, reaching out to me by phone or going on to my website, which is musiccity.carepatrol.com. And then all of my contact information can be found from the website. Okay. That would be a quick and easy way. And then I'm sorry, what was the other thing you were asking?
As far as certain either businesses or individuals, this would be good to share with if someone's watching this. Yeah.
So I always like to tell folks, if you work professionally with seniors and you feel like you have a patient that you have two patients for every patient, the patient you serve, as well as the family who want updates, focus on the patient, send the family to me, and I will work with the family to help with that transition plan. If it's a person themselves that needs help, if they are looking for someone to give them good feedback about resources that are out there in the community. And one of the things that's great is that what Sherri and Sara and I get to do, we do this for free. For families that we serve, our services are free to the families. If somebody is looking for one way to save some money, let us come in and help. Anything we can do, there's no cost to the family.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, nice. Yeah, I've always described it, it's almost like you're the rules are about to change, but you're like the buyer's agent for the buyer, right? Even though they're not buying anything, they don't pay the fee. It's the place they're moving into, right? So it's all gravy on their end. It's in that situation, they need all the free advice that they can get, and you guys are three great resources. So very well put. How about you, Sara and Sherri? How would someone get in touch with you guys, and what would be a great contact for y'all?
For us, our website too would be great. That has a lot of information, and our website is CarePatrol Mid-TN, like Middle Tennessee, but just abbreviated. Okay. And all our contact information is on there. And also, obviously, people Google still, but yeah, our website also has a lot of free resources to families. So sometimes they just want to know like general costs, sort of other resources, things that we have on there that's just helpful for families to have the conversations. Okay. Because sometimes that's the hardest thing, is to have the conversations. And then, like Eric said, whether it's case managers, social workers, any family or friends that, they just received like a dementia diagnosis or any type of diagnosis, they're early in it, and they know in time they'll have to plan for, something else. When someone can't be cared for at home appropriately or safely anymore, that's when we want to begin the conversations with our families so we can help them through that process and give them any other resources too that they need, even outside of what we do. We do that as kind of goodwill to one another. All the companies that work in this space, like we all try to do that for our families.
Nice. Yep.
So just anybody that works with seniors, particularly in the medical profession, a lot of doctors don't know and nurses don't know that we exist and that we're there to help navigate that space between unsafe at home and skilled nursing.
Got it. Makes sense. Very great point. Well, anything that I didn't ask that I should have before we run?
No, you're pretty thorough, Matt. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys. Well, I really appreciate you guys being on here and appreciate you guys serving seniors. So thank you guys for all you do. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you too, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for watching the Serving Senior podcast, where we highlight those businesses and professionals that serve seniors at such a high level. Thanks again, and be looking for the next episodes. Have a great day. Hey, this is Matt Helton with OneTrust Home Loans, home of retirement mortgage solutions. And we really do appreciate you checking out the Serving Seniors podcast today. Now, please go to the description down in the body of the podcast where you can subscribe to get future shows. Please click that notification button so you get notified when other shows drop. And also, if you can go to servingseniourspodcast.com, and we'd love to hear a comment about our show. We have a heart to serve seniors, and we have a heart to make sure seniors don't just survive retirement, don't just get by in retirement. We want to show seniors how to thrive in retirement. So if you know of anyone that's 55 and older that could use some extra cash flow, maybe the retirement's not going the way that they like, our retirement mortgage solutions are designed for folks, depending on the state, they're either 55 or 62 and older, to make sure that they have that kind of retirement that they want. As long as they own a home and they're in a good equity position, there could be some solutions that they may not have thought about, or maybe they've thought of and they just didn't know how they work. That's what we do. So anyone in that age group that could use some mortgage advice, my team and I would love to be able to help them. Thanks again, and look forward to seeing you on the next show. Have a great day.